Start now. Good afternoon. Good morning. It's 1 hour before afternoon. So good morning. My name is Vandana Manwani. I just want to give a brief introduction before I start. I've got more than 20 years of IT experience with some amount of leadership and personal growth coaching. Today, I should thank Extravaluecart for this initiative to start these live webinars. I'm going to talk about leadership in crisis. So, I just want to set the tone of this presentation is that it's going to be more about I sharing some learnings of what I have, over a period of time, what I've gained. And also, it's not going to be about what is the right thing and what is the wrong thing. All of us will, it all depends on how you're applying it to yourself. First of all, uh, people think leadership is all about heading organizations, countries, fancy titles. Yes, that is one aspect of leadership. But leadership is also about using your own potential to the fullest and also making sure the people around you, your teams, your families are using their potential to the fullest. Are you able to influence people? Are you able to challenge them? Are you able to drive them? That is important. So I think leadership is all about leading from front in life as well as work. That is what leadership means to me. So starting using that as a base, we can now talk about leadership in crisis. Also, having said that, please let me know if I'm talking very fast. Otherwise, I will continue with the pace I'm using now. Okay. When this opportunity came to me to talk on this webinar, the first thing came to my mind is leadership in crisis, because we are going through this crisis, which is unprecedented. We're not seeing at least in our lifetime. So we're just all of us are dealing it in our own way. So it's all about how are we going to manage this. This is where do you as a leader come up, and like they say, leadership shows in people during difficult times. You show your leadership only when your core crux of your leadership comes out during the difficult times. So one of the key things I learned is be adaptable. What happens is a lot of people, suddenly we are locked up home, we are driving teams. I have a team sitting, I had different teams sitting across different locations during the regular times. And now suddenly all of them are working from home. And we have to make sure that we are working from home, we are being productive, and yet yet we are managing these circumstances. So one of the key things is to be adaptable. Be adaptable in such a way that you are able to plan well. And when I say you plan well, you have a mid-term plan, long-term plan, but suddenly the crisis hits you. Crisis could be coronavirus issue, it could be a personal issue. Are you being adaptable in terms of, are you able to revamp your plan in such a way that do you know what are your urgencies and priorities? Now, when I say urgency and priority is one thing, they're two different things. So when you have a priority set, you should be able to know between those priorities, what is the urgent part of it. Now, for us, most of us, urgency is making sure that our work is going on as smooth as possible, that we have some amount of work coming our way in whatever way, either you're working for some company or you're independent or whatever, that's one aspect. Other urgencies, are you taking care of yourself and family in terms of safety, in terms of health, and also your employees or your team members? So that is where your urgency will come into place. That is how you first have to cut down your plan in such a way that your focus is mostly on the urgent part of your plan. Now, next thing comes is the speed of the decision. I'm sure all of us acknowledge what the country, the way I think I really feel very comfortable the way the government has been handling the current issues, the crisis. I think the quick decisions in the crisis is what helps in terms of, if I have to say, the speed of the decision is better than being perfect. So there is this quote saying, analysis creates paralysis. A lot of people, or many of us in many circumstances, are so worried about doing, are we doing the right thing, are we doing this, should we not do this, should we do this, making everybody happy. Suddenly we are not even making that basic decision. Time has passed, a lot of repercussions take place. So I think the key thing is to make decisions quickly, keep refining those decisions. Like I said, adaptability and agility is what requires. So more than making sure that this is the right thing, just make the decision, then keep correcting it. That is what it is. Because if you keep thinking that I'll make a perfect decision, for all you know, you have made yourself a much more, kept yourself in a much more deeper problem. That is the second point. And I have to tell you, a lot of things I have been learning on my way. So I'm just saying that I'm not giving you a one way, gyan, but it's more like trying to. This has been a learning for me as well. So if I go back to the speed part of it, like I said, I really appreciate the way our government took quick decisions on certain things. Some people agreed, some didn't, but at least those decisions were taken. Otherwise, forever, people are thinking whether we should be taking decisions or not taking decisions, then it causes problems. Third thing is, third thing is, I read a nice article, a nice post on LinkedIn a couple of days back. It says leadership is all about being strategic. Well, yes, but when a strategic decision is taken, or during a war or anything, I'm sure a lot of defense people will relate to this, is when a strategic decision is taken, it is implemented, and making sure each implementation is happening at every level. At that level, everybody has to be enabled to lead. So every person is a leader in their own way at every level. So it's very, very important that each person in that space is leading with an autonomy, with decisions made on his own. So it's very important that we enable people who are working with us, and some of you who have employees with you, some of you who have teams with you. If you are driving these things during crisis, make sure that your teams are enabled to make those decisions to drive as per what is required. So that is important. Secondly, also is important to be more transparent, more communicative, to tell status wise how are we doing. Sometimes during crisis, a lot of people don't know. For example, a lot of organizations have put a lot of, it was an appraisal season and a lot of things. So probably some communication is not coming, so that is also causing some concerns. So if people are more transparent about how they're handling this, that probably will be more better to tell them, like, yeah, we are taking this is how we are handling our issues, this is how we've taken steps, we've kind of enabled a lot of people to work from home, this is what we're doing. So these are some examples I'm giving, that transparency in communication always helps during crisis. And one thing is being authentic. I am a big fan of being authentic. I feel just because you are in a position where you're leading, or you are independent, or you're with the team, just because you have that responsibility, you can't admit that you're going wrong or you've gone wrong. That is not correct, because I feel if you're an authentic leader, it's okay to admit, yes, you made certain decisions, it didn't work, but you're making corrective steps. So that is very important. Secondly, I also believe one thing is being part of solutions rather than uh, problems. Uh, like we keep saying, oh, this was not right, this is right, this is not should have been done. Okay, this shouldn't have been done. Then suggest what should be done, rather than just saying, oh, this shouldn't have been done, this is not done. So that is important. So, yeah, somebody just mentioned transparency in communication. Absolutely, I agree. Transparency is very important. And like I said, enabling people is important. Also, it is important to make sure that you're being authentic. It's a collaborative. It's very important to collaborate with the people you're working, and this is the right time to see that, because people are collaborating across healthcare. You have the security for, like, you have police forces working together with, and you have healthcare people just working together to make sure that this we are going through this in a united way. uh, Other thing is, which I wanted to talk is, as leaders, it's very important that you yourself are in that position of calm to direct, because if you are feeling that panic situation, it will hit other people. While I say yes, you have to be authentic, you have to be transparent, but you also have to make sure that you yourself are calm and know that you're going in that direction. So there's a fine line between that, okay, and that is a fine line which each of you or each of us will figure out when it is right to, to be vulnerable and show, and when is it right to be strong and tough. So that decision is something you all will have to take. So at this point, self-care as a leader is very, very important. Why it is important? I When you fly, okay, you have the mask, oxygen mask, okay, and they say, okay, till you don't take care of yourself, first put yourself and then put it for a child, because if you don't take care, then you will not be able to handle the child. So it is important. I feel they keep as a not only as a woman, myself, I always tell everybody of us have to take care of yourself first. Then only you will be able to take care of people around you, be it your family, be it your company, be it your employees, be it your team. And that is important, because these are the times when people are going through uncertain times. People are wondering what will happen. People are taking People are checking how much business we'll be getting, how many people we'll have to shrink or not shrink. So these turbulent times, is very important that you are being careful about your mind and mental health. Now, how do you do that? One is being, people say mindfulness, meditation. Yes, it is works well, but if you're not the type who likes to do meditation and all, I suggest one thing is what really struck me was when this suddenly happened was that I stopped taking things for granted. I'm trying not to take things for granted. I'm not saying I've stopped, but I'm trying not to take things for granted. For me, going out to shop, to meet people, to travel for work was a normal incident. But now I have to kind of, all of us have to give it up. So I think value today, now, that is important. So take have a what we there's a term called reframing. For every situation, try to reframe it. See if you can see something better in from the situation. For me, it's been our last 1 year. I've been traveling up and down every weekend. I was traveling, and so for this time, for me, this has been a good time to be spending time with my family, to be around, we just be at one place. So, uh, so a lot of people say, oh, how can you be happy during lockdown? I don't know whether I'm happy, but I'm at least making most of the situation right now. So I say, so that's when you want to take that part of it, uh, whatever works. A lot of people say, a lot of people had posted saying, people are posting cooking contests, they're doing this, they're cooking videos, they're putting this, and uh, uh, so I feel whatever works for everyone in this situation, no one should be judging anybody else. How are we managing this lockdown is our own lookout, and whatever works for. So there's a question about how to prioritize things within changing environment. Very good question. It is an agile environment. Things keep changing. Now, in that situation, in that time, what feels more important is what you should be prioritizing. Right now, for people, probably initially when the lockdown started, the priority was making sure that everybody was off the road, they were working from home. Then it started, are we getting enough business? So how do we make sure that we're getting business? So during those changing times is what you have to figure out what is the urgency and what is important. Right now it's a balance between making sure that economy is working for us and yet we are making sure our rest of us are safe. So that's how it is. I would just put this in a more like an agile environment. When you doing your projects, you have 10 requirements, you pick up what is the one which life is what you'll have to figure it out then. in this changing environment, what is the first priority for us? Secondly, when I say self care during the leaders, also it's important that you are give compassion. Yeah, economy, business is important, yes, but compassion is equally important. So making sure people around you are equally taken care of is important. How, during what circumstances, I know it is challenging, but in our own way, we do. That is a good thing. I also have a point when I'm talking about our taking care of ourselves as leaders. Is one thing is uh, sometimes what has worked earlier was when things go tough, and this I've learned a very hard way. When things go tough, instead of focusing on our issues, if you focus on other people and making sure things are right for them, you yourself start feeling better. You probably start seeing things in a better light. So that is somewhere a sense of wanting to do something more for others is where you is a part of self-care as leaders, which we might want to take. The other thing is, of course, like I said, be grateful about life right now. How does it feel? Like, how do you feel about it? Just be grateful about the time given. So that gratitude is important. The other thing is, if you look at it positively, if you look at it gratefully, you probably will look at the opportunity. I'm surprised that a lot of people jumping onto the and online trainings and all, which is very, it's a nice way to look at opportunities. So everything you can during every crisis, sit down and do a SWOT analysis, like any which you have kind of always known. You know your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunity, threats. Look at it as an opportunity when you see a threat and saying, okay, what else can I come up with? And I'm surprised a lot of coaches like myself are taking on reaching out to people, doing these webinars, conducting trainings. So these are the opportunities people have sensed, wherein a lot of face-to-face connect was required. People are saying, okay, we'll do it remotely. So look at it all opportunity. And I guess something else also I wanted to share is I read a small article which had a lot of C's and how you handle these situations. Uh, One is, I mean, how do you manage a difficult crisis during your career as a leader? So there were a couple of C's. So one of the C's was, um, are you confident? So you have to be confident through the crisis. You have to collaborate. You have to be communicative. Always make sure you're communicating to the people. And like I said, it is always very important. Also, are you compassionate? Like I'm repeating myself here. That are you compassionate? Lastly, when you talked about priority, somebody just mentioned how do you prioritize things. Lastly, important is cash. Making yourself you are having the cash around as owners, as if you're a small business owners or leading some, you have loans set up. Making sure you have the liquidity, that is also important. So one of the things was cash as one of the C's. So this is about it. It's all about being tough. If you look at in the military parlance, it's all about being tough, compassionate, and intuitive. That's how things drive during these leadership during crisis. A lot of things I want to say, but at this point, this is just a start for me. So I just wanted to keep this as a flowing conversation. Anything else you want to share? Anything else you want to talk about? Otherwise, for this is just a few gist of what is the crisis leadership in crisis for me. When to when to drop things in crisis situations. Can you elaborate that, please? Yeah, so emotions and decisions sometimes overlap. Very good questions. Emotions and decisions overlap, and how to control emotions. Uh, so I think what this is where mindfulness comes into picture. When you are, it's when you start practicing mindfulness, you will know that your emotions are triggering. When they are triggering, that is all about being emotionally intelligent. So it's okay to feel emotional. It's not about suppressing the emotions. It's about being aware of that emotion. So when you are aware of that emotion, it's just be aware of it and see whether that is impacting the way you're making decisions. And if it is impacting the decision, then you have to make sure you are holding on to that emotion, let that emotion pass, and then go back to thinking around it. How that works to make sure you're more emotionally intelligent is where people are being asked to write journals. I try doing that. uh, I, I can't say I'm perfect at monitoring my emotions, but at least now I've reached a point where I know and acknowledge that my emotions had gone haywire. I'm not into a denial now. I kind of acknowledge that now. Okay, yes, I think this is where the emotions happen. But while I said that's a very interesting question when I said you have to make quick decisions, but also you have to make sure that you're not making emotionally quick decisions. So there's a balance between thinking through and making quick decisions, making sure that you're not thinking through too much, that you're paralytic with the analysis, that there's no action at all. So one of the key things about leadership is also that you are not at the starting point, you are constantly acting on things. So that is important. And also, like you made that like a very good point there, like emotions do impact, but think this through. And journaling helps. I hope I answered the question. Anything else? Any questions here? Thank you. I'll wait for like few minutes to see some questions if there are any. I would love to see. I love to get some inputs from people as to what are the takeaways here. If there are any takeaways which you would want to take away from here. Usually I always feel any kind of discussions I've had as an audience or as a coach, for me as well, sometimes there have been takeaways. So is there something which you would like to kind of share? That please drop in a chat window there. And if you all want to reach out to me, you all can check up my LinkedIn and drop a message. We'll probably can connect. And thank you, and stay safe. And also I feel stay safe. And it's very important that take this positively, look it as an opportunity, and see, come out of it wiser. I mean, know when to not to take risks and when to take risks. And all these are something very individualistic. So you'll have to go back and figure it out. What is that working for me? What are my list of priorities? What is something urgent which has to be done, which needs to be done? That is all it is. So stay safe, stay home, and stay connected. Uh, thank you. And anything for me, extra value card team? Shall I log off now? Okay, so I think I will log off. So good, good day, everybody.